Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever we are. First of all, we would like to thank our lecturer. He is Mr. Abraham as a teacher of English course 2 who has guided and provided us with the material until the end of this semester. Not to forget, we also thank all of our friends who are watching and listening to our presentation. We are honored to be able to give you a presentation regarding our final project. Before entering the discussion part of this presentation, it's a good idea to introduce ourselves first. We are the final project team for the ABCDLITS Class 2 on English Course 2 from the Statistics Study Program, Faculty of Science and Technology, AIRLANGGA University. Next. Okay, today I will not be alone. I will present the final project presentation with my partners. Introducing, my name is SALSABYLLA APSARINY with student ID number 027. Next, there is my friends Noviatus Sholihah with student ID number 004, RIZZA SULISTIANA with student ID number 005, then IMMANTAKA JUNIARSA with student ID number 017, and lastly, MAHENDRA RESTU with student ID number 041. Okay, next we will present the results of our discussion regarding the creation of essay and blog. Go to the first discussion. Here I will be briefly explain the essay that we have made. The topic of the essay we took was related to statistical methods. For the type of essay itself, we choose to use the essay process, precisely the instructional process. The topic of the statistical method chosen is the simple linear regression method. Here is an outline of the essay that we made. The first is an introduction. In the preliminary stage, it discusses a brief explanation of simple linear regression and the purpose of writing an essay. Next, in paragraph body 1, we discuss the assumption test for simple linear regression. For the paragraph in body 2, we discuss estimating the simple linear regression model. And for body 3, we will cover the simple linear regression parameter test. Finally, body 4, we will also explain the interpretation of the simple linear regression model. Don't forget also for the conclusion, which provide a summary of the entire essay. Okay, for the next material will be explained by my friend.
Well, how to implement simple linear regression correctly. One method of statistical data analysis and is widely used in regression analysis. Linear analysis. Simple linear regression is a linear relationship variable independent X and the variable dependent Y. For people who come from statistical background, this analysis can be the most classic analysis and must be measured. Even so, this analysis certainly has many benefits as long as it's used with proper technique, use, and data. If we want to use simple linear regression analysis, we can use manual calculation or calculate it using statistical software such as Minitab, SPSS, and others. To get maximum result from simple linear regression analysis, pay attention to the appropriate steps according to the following explanation. The first step that must be done in simple linear regression analysis is the assumption test classic. According to Kujaradi 2003, the assumption test classic aims to ensure research results are accurate. The data used in the theory is unbiased, consistent, and regression coefficient estimation is efficient. In simple linear regression analysis, for classical assumptions statistically must be matched, including normality, linearity, heteroscedasticity, and autocorrelation tests. To value whether the data is normally distributed or not, it can be seen from the error value that is close to normal, which means that statistical testing is feasible using the normality test. To find out the independent or dependent variable have a positive linear relationship or vice versa, you can use the next assumptions test, namely the linearity test. After fulfilling the assumptions of normality and linearity, the next test is the heteroscedasticity test. The variance inequality from one observation residual to another in the regression model can use this test. If the variance from one observation residual to another is constant, then it is called homoscedasticity. And the regression equation can be said to be good. The last assumption test is the autocorrelation test carried out if the data used is in the form of time series data. In a linear regression model, we can do this test to find out whether there is a correlation between the error period t and period t min 1. After all the classical assumptions are met, the analysis can proceed to the next stage.
After testing the assumption of simple linear regression, then the model estimation can be done. According to Tarno 2007, the linear regression model is used to express the functional relationship variable independent x and the variable dependent y. According to Suyono 2018, a simple linear regression model can be written as y equals beta 0 plus beta 1 x plus epsilon, which mean beta 0 and beta 1 are parameters whose values are unknown, called regression coefficients, and epsilon, called random error. Modeling the variation of the value of y for a fixed value of x can use the unexpected error of multiple linear regression models. And the error is assumed to be normally distributed with mean 0 and sigma square variance. In estimating the multiple linear regression model, the classical assumptions must have been fulfilled then through the help of software such as Excel, SPSS, Minitab, and others. The regression coefficient values will be obtained, which will be interpreted afterward, taking into account the positive and negative signs in the model estimate. The next is after estimation result of simple linear regression model are obtained, the next step is testing the hypothesis of the regression model parameters. According to Imran 2018, this hypothesis testing was carried out to find out whether the independent variable response had a significant effect or not on the dependent variable predictor. In this case, parameter hypothesis testing can be done partially or simultaneously because in simple linear regression, both are the same having only one predictor variable. Generally, the hypothesis test of the parameters of the simple linear regression model is carried out by partial tests using the concept of the t distribution. At this stage, the formulation of the hypothesis must be determined the null hypothesis and the first hypothesis. Determine the alpha significance level. The significant level that is often used is 5% alpha. Calculate the test statistic or t-value according to the formula. Next, determine the criteria of the rejection area or critical area by comparing the t-value of the independent variable with the t-value of the dependent variable table according to the predetermined significant level reference. Decide the test performed whether the null hypothesis is accepted or rejected. If the value of t arithmetic is greater than equal t table, then the null hypothesis is rejected. Finally, give a conclusion from the decision obtained. If the null hypothesis decision is declined, the dependent variable is significantly affected by the independent variable. It is essential to test the parameter hypothesis in this simple linear regression model to consider whether the model obtained is good or not. The results can be accurate when used for prediction purpose or just interpretation.
After estimating the simple linear regression model has been carried out and this for its fulfillment in the form of classical assumption test and parameter test. The last step is to interpret it. The interpretation of the regression coefficient contains two things, namely signs and magnitude, equal 2015. A symbol signifies direction relationship. Signs can be negative or positive. Negative indicates a unidirectional effect between the dependent variable and the independent variable, while the positive indicates the opposite effect. Unidirectional means that the dependent variable experiences the same thing if the independent variable increases. Meanwhile, if the independent variable decreases, it will impact the dependent variable, which will also decrease. In the opposite direction manner, if the independent variable increases, the dependent variable will experience the opposite decreasing. Conversely, if the independent decreases, the variable dependence will increase. The magnitude describes the nominal slope of the regression equation, and explanation of the magnitude is carried out on the estimation ratio of the model, which focus on the nominal or the number of its regression coefficient. Next, and the last is our conclusion. Similar regression analysis is the most basic regression analysis method that has an easy and fast analysis process. Thus, this method is widely used for the analysis of a study. However, some people sometimes still misunderstand the concept of linear regression itself, especially some people who don't have a statistical background. For this reason, so that maximum result and simply linear regression can work according to their goals. A series of appropriate and correct steps are needed for the analysis process, starting from testing assumption that must be made first, estimating the model, testing the significance of the parameters, and interpreting as the final step of analysis.
So guys, this is the view of the block that we have created. This block contains the essay that we have explained in the previous slides. For more details, you can enter the title, namely how to implement simple linear regression, into the search page, or you can click the link that we have included in the description below. Next. And then these are some of references that we use to support our essay and blog. We use Gujarati's book as a reference for simple linear regression theory, also several journals that apply simple linear regression as a data processing method. Next. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of our presentation. Don't forget to visit our blog, and we hope that our presentation can be useful for you. Finally, we say thank you for your great attention. See you on the next presentation. Goodbye and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.